Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Good evening. Welcome to the Exeter Planning Board of February 10th, 2022 in the Nowak room. I will start by introducing the board, and I'll start off. I'm Langdon Plummer. I'm chair of the board. And Pete?
Pete Cameron, clerk.
John Gruder.
Mark Detour, alternate.
Aaron Brown, vice chair.
Okay. Thank you for chairing last time. Well, that was a while ago. And on my left?
Molly Cowan, Select Board Rep.
Okay.
Gwen English.
Nancy Blanchard, alternate.
And Jen is looking for a chair.
For me, but Jen shows up.
Yeah.
He's going to get the table.
See? At least you know where you stand. All right. So the whole board's here. That's so good.
The whole board
And
is.
thank you, alternates.
See, you were concerned.
Well, you know, I shouldn't be, because this board is a pretty good board. It really is, you know?
The whole
Well, we haven't had a meeting in a month. We all missed it.
We'll all skip next one.
Okay.
Lang, you're on your own in 2 weeks.
First order of business are the minutes of January 13th, 22. I was not here for that meeting, so are there any comments, suggestions, recommendations,
Oh, sorry.
thoughts?
Are we doing minute? I'm sorry,
Ben,
Lang.
did you finish your
I'm
scrutiny?
Draft minutes on line 76.
76, trombones.
Just a simple typo in the middle of the sentence, section 2.2.12. It should be of the
Okay.
Exeter zoning ordinance. Line 110. The sentence, I think, either can be deleted or the end of it maybe can be deleted. It's sort of saying two different things. Allowing this change to the definition does contribute to the problem of affordable housing and is owner occupied. It doesn't really make sense. So maybe just eliminate the and is owner occupied, because that's kind of floating there. I don't know if that was your,
Yeah, I'm
that was your
reading it, though.
comment.
I
Maybe
didn't
you
catch
can
that.
clarify it. I
Okay.
was confused.
I don't know if it's my.
And then,
Yeah, it wasn't.
I thought I had another one. Oh, yes, on line 37, Mr. Choate, it should probably say Mr. Choate said he felt confident. So just put said after his name. That was all I had, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, and that wasn't my comment. It looks like it might have been part of Molly's, but I'm not sure. And I don't want to change someone else's thought or comment, so.
What line are you on?
109.
That one's on one right here,
Oh, yeah.
allowing.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll accept a motion to approve with changes as noted.
Motion.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any further comments? And we'll vote, voice vote on it. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm taking an abstention. Oh, 2 abstentions.
Yes, wasn't here.
Ditto. Thank you. Continued public hearing on the application of ZVS Investments LLC for multifamily site plan review for proposed conversion of structures located at 50 Newfields Road into 4 residential condominium units. Into 4, okay. Subject property located in the RU Rural Residential Zoning District, tax map parcel number 35-9, and is planning board case number 21-10. And I think this case has a record of the numbers of passing it along. Requested delay, requested whatever. In other words, We haven't seen you here for a while, but we heard from you.
Yes, yeah.
So, Dave, do you have anything to start off with?
Sure. As you stated, the applicant is seeking approval for a multifamily site plan review for the proposed conversion of the structures located at 50 Newfields Road into 4 residential condominium units. The applicant had submitted a revised plan and supporting documents, the latest plan set dated November 30th, 2021, which was provided in a previous mailing. The applicant appeared before the board in December on 2 occasions, and the primary discussions by the board focused on potential contamination due to the prior use as a dry cleaners and the health and safety of the future residents of the property. And at the December 16th meeting, the board consensus was that they wanted the applicant to complete a phase 1 environmental study prior to them to taking any action. Subsequently, they tabled the application, and then they asked to be continued again because the phase 1 report that I did provide you with, I just provided the table of contents and the summary in the packets, but because the whole thing is 263 pages, most are appendix and pictures and so forth, but that was available. I sent you via email, and it is available electronically on the Exeter website. But it came back, the phase 1 recommended limited phase 2 testing, so the applicant said they'd like to remain on the table until the phase 2 report came back, which it did after I wrote this memo, but I emailed it to everyone and they didn't find any concerns on the property. They did have a couple of suggestions, recommendations out of the report, one being one was in the phase 1 assessment regarding the small amount of solid waste dumping as tires, wood, metal, and concrete, asphalt, shingles, and trash. While it is not considered a recognized environmental concern, the group, John Turner Consulting, recommends removal of these materials from the property. And then the second recommendation was in the phase 2 report where they said future development, should the property be redeveloped or demolished, a qualified environmental consultant should be retained to observe the excavation to ensure no contaminated soil is identified and no further investigation is warranted for the subject property. So I did incorporate those in suggested conditions of approval if the board decides to take action this evening, and no waivers are being requested.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, Barry Dyer with Jones Beach Engineers for the applicant. I think Mr. Sharple summarized it pretty well. Since the last meeting, phase 1 and phase 2 environmental review of the site have been completed, which included groundwater testing, soil testing, and even air testing. All parameters tested are within regulatory limits. We did review the conditions of approval that Mr. Sharples had provided and have no issues with them. Okay. We can take any questions the board may have.
I just have a comment. On the second report that we received through email from Dave, in the second paragraph on the background, there's a line saying the dry cleaning building has been demolished and only a concrete foundation remains. That's incorrect. That building was never removed. It changed from what it was to a church and then to a child care, then to a wood shop and then to a child care center.
It was our understanding, and from talking to the previous owners, that between, behind so this is the existing church, I guess
yes.
we'll call it, the existing house.
Yes.
And behind the existing house and adjacent to the existing church, there was another structure where the actual dry cleaning process took place. That's what the report is discussing.
Then we agree. Anyway, yes. Yep. Okay. Any other questions or questions the board has? John?
Just to follow up on that, you said there was a building behind it but attached, right?
I'm not sure if it was attached or if it was standalone, but that's where we did the testing to see if there was any contaminants.
Oh, okay.
As a result of it.
So right there is where you did your testing?
Correct.
Some of it.
They did testing actually spread out through the area.
Yeah.
They concentrated, they had like, I think 4 spots there to test because that would have been
Yeah,
the most likely area of contamination.
Those spots were in some of the material we had. Maybe the one you got there, John.
I guess mine
Sure.
for just discussion with the board and a question for the applicant, but one of the things that Turner Consulting talks about is potential, Dave, can you read that part again about the phase 2 recommendation by Turner?
Yep. Future development. Should the property be redeveloped or demolished, a qualified environmental consultant should be retained to observe the excavation to ensure no contaminated soil is identified.
Okay, so what basis do we think he's giving that recommendation on? Because they found nothing.
I talked to him today about that.
Okay, great.
And he said while they do not believe there is contamination on the site,
Yeah.
when you take borings, I think he said it's like 2 inches.
Sure.
And you go down in suspected locations, and you can't cover everything. So just in the event an excavator goes out there and starts digging, they recommend an environmental consultant there to view the soils to see if they notice anything that, the borings might have missed.
Okay.
That's what his reasoning was.
All right.
It's as a precautionary step, he said.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how much, from my own perspective, I don't know how much we want to burden the property owner with the continued. We just brought them through a phase 1 and phase 2, came up clean. Minor recommendation of removing solid waste, which, it's good news that they got through the work that was done from a credible company. I would just wonder as a board if we need to make that a requirement of future use. That's all.
Thank you.
I just was prepared because it was a recommendation made by the consultant.
Right.
Excuse me, Dave, was there any specific area he spoke of, or he's talking about any excavation on any part of the project? Oops, excuse me.
Yeah, I think it was any excavation, but I think reasonableness, when I wrote the condition, I said whether this condition is applicable shall be determined by the town planner and building inspector in consultation with the applicant prior to the issuance of a building permit, because I thought just that, if they're gonna, digging over where they're putting in the new septic system,
Right.
which is upgradient, uphill, well, that wouldn't, that wouldn't trigger that, and I'm not sure they are excavating it. We don't know if they're, I don't know, maybe they can answer, they're using the old foundation, so they won't even excavate.
That is the intention currently.
Okay.
Okay.
So it may not even apply. If you put it on, it may not even be applicable. If-
Okay. Anybody else? Gwen, you all set?
I don't have any questions.
No questions?
That haven't been answered.
Molly? Pete, you're pretty quiet. Nope. Okay, John spoke.
Good.
Gwen, Jen?
No, I'm happy to see the report. I think that, it gives some peace of mind to the board and to helping the property owner that, the site is not contaminated and will not be harmful to
Yeah.
the health moving forward.
Yeah, I should thank the developer going to that extent. I think we'll all feel better. Yeah. Okay. I think we're ready to act on this one. Dave, did you have any other conditions besides the usual?
I do, I'll read them all and I'll include the one, then you can determine what you want to do with it. Most of them you've heard, 7 of them, they're standard conditions. 1, an electronic as-built plan of the entire property with details acceptable to the town shall be provided prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for any unit. This plan must be in DWG or DFX file format and NAD 1983 State Plane, New Hampshire, F5PS 2800 feet coordinates. 2, all monumentation shall be set in accordance with section 9.25 of the site plan review and subdivision regulations prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. 3, all condominium documents, including the declaration and bylaws, shall be submitted to the town planner for review and approval prior to signing the final plans. In the event the town planner deems that review is needed by the town attorney, this review shall be at the applicant's expense. 4, the applicant shall contact New Hampshire Department of Transportation to determine if an updated driveway permit is needed for the change of use. Either an approved DOT permit or a letter from the DOT stating that a driveway permit is not needed shall be provided to the town planner prior to signing the final plans. 5, all applicable state permit approval numbers shall be noted on the final plans. All appropriate fees to be paid, including but not limited to impact fees, inspection fees, including third-party inspections, prior to the issuance of a building permit or a certificate of occupancy, whichever is applicable, as determined by the town. 6, all outdoor lighting, including security lights, shall be downlit and shielded so no direct light is visible from adjacent properties and/or roadways. 7, these are the 2 that are from the report, 7 and 8. All solid waste as identified in section 5.1.5 of the Phase 1 Environmental Site Assessment, 50 Newfields Road, Exeter, New Hampshire, dated January 4th, 2022, completed by John Turner Consulting, Inc., shall be removed as recommended in said assessment. Removal shall be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for any unit. 8, as recommended, at the bottom of page 3 in the Phase 2 Soil and Groundwater Quality Investigation dated February 4th, 2022, completed by John Turner Consulting, Inc., should the property be redeveloped or demolished as part of this approval, a qualified environmental consultant should be retained to observe the excavation to ensure no contaminated soil is identified. Whether this condition is applicable shall be determined by the town planner and building inspector in consultation with the applicant prior to the issuance of a building permit, and all landscaping shown on the plan shall be maintained, and any dead or dying vegetation shall be replaced no later than the following growing season, as long as the site plan remains valid. This condition is not intended to circumvent revocation procedures set forth in state statutes.
Is there a motion?
Oh,
Go ahead.
I have a question, but I can
Oh, ask
wait
your question.
until-
Go ahead.
On the November 30th plans, there was a question about the contours on the septic system being too close to the property line. Did that get pulled back? Did that get,
We have not modified the plan since then, but we definitely absolutely can, so that could be a condition of the approval, that we can adjust the grading around the septic system.
okay.
Okay, we'll make that a number 9, please, Dave.
Number 10, no final grading
Oh, 10.
shall occur within 5 feet of any property line. No.
Okay, anybody else, or how about a motion?
Dave, can you just read 9 again, how you worded that? The one about phase 2 recommendation, please.
Number 8.
Yeah, thank you.
As recommended in the Phase 2 Soil and Groundwater Quality Investigation dated February 4th, 2022, completed by John Turner Consulting, Inc., should the property be redeveloped or demolished as part of this approval, a qualified environmental consultant should be retained to observe the excavation to ensure no contaminated soil is identified.
All right, so redeveloped or what?
Or demolished.
Demolished.
And then I did put, they didn't put this, but I said as part of this approval, so it doesn't continue on. Like if someone 10 years from now wants to demolish a shed, that's not applicable at
It
that time.
doesn't?
Unless you wanted to. But I don't even know how we would even
I don't want to
contract.
try to make it more restrictive.
Yeah, I don't even know how we would even, be aware of
Right,
that.
that's what I was trying to figure out, is does that go forward beyond what they're doing now? Or is it just,
It was just for this. That's the way I wrote that.
okay.
Yep.
As long as that's understood, then I have no issue with how you've got it worded.
How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to, I think I gotta go into the motion a little bit. I move that the request of ZV Investments LLC, Planning Board Case Number 21-10 for multi-family site plan approval be approved with the conditions as read by Town Planner Dave Sharple.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Jen. Any other discussion? Okay, let's do a hand vote. Gwen, you're first.
Aye.
Molly?
Can we
Aye.
just,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That passes clearly. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Entirely welcome. All right, somewhere where our agenda here. Okay, other business. Any master plan discussion?
Well, no, I was going to bring, I do have an item, not under that, but the meeting that was scheduled for last Friday for the MPOC got canceled due to weather.
Okay. Any field modifications, Dave?
None requested.
Bond or letter of credit reductions releases? I don't see any.
None requested.
Okay,
But
that's all we need. Yes, Dave?
I do have did town planner item get on? I didn't see it on the agenda.
No,
But I have one, if you'll indulge me just for a minute.
go right ahead.
We don't think we have time.
Come on.
We're running late.
Always got, right?
Oh, he's got a
I'm
long.
gonna let you out of here by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, no, apparently not. Someone will have to make a motion.
Thank you, Dave.
I was ready, I had it teed up. I was on the 18th tee.
Oh, Dave.
I didn't get paid by
Exactly the right number of copies.
Maybe you should. Time to renegotiate.
Yeah. Okay. What I passed out to you is I staff the Energy Committee.
Right.
And they've been working on a number of things, but one of the things the chair asked if I was willing to work with them on is a potential amendment to our site plan and subdivision regulations to include requirements for electric vehicle chargers. And I thought I was happy to do that. We did look at some examples, and this is what we came up with, and the Energy Committee reviewed it and recommended that, advance it to the planning board with a recommendation for adoption. And I'll just go over it briefly of what it does. You'll see the first page is basically a definition of what electric vehicle supply equipment is, and it's an electrical component assembly or cluster of component assemblies designed specifically to charge batteries with electrical vehicles by permitting the transfer of electric energy to a battery or other storage device in an electric vehicle. That's just the definition. The section that would be the meat of it, if you will, would be section 19.13.8, which is in red in your document and has several things, and I'll just read it and explain it. Projects shall provide electric vehicle charging readiness based on the following standards. 1, multifamily residential projects, 5% of the total number of new parking spaces. 2, non-residential projects, 2% of the total number of new parking spaces. 3, the number shall be rounded up in all cases with a minimum of 1 space of electric vehicle charging readiness per project requiring site plan review. Electric vehicle charging readiness shall be defined as a parking space that meets the following requirements. 1, the project has 1 or more dedicated circuits on the electric panel such that the panel has the service capacity to accommodate the electric vehicle supply equipment, which is defined in our ordinance. And 2, conduit has been installed to allow the addition of all necessary wiring to electrify installed EVSE at the parking space or spaces without having to excavate to do so. Some communities, some regs require actually the installation of chargers. This does not do that. This just says, we just wanted to make sure that if a project comes in, that all they're doing is adding conduit.
Yeah.
From the panel to the thing, and then making sure there's space in the panel.
Yeah.
Level 2 charger requires anywhere from a 30 to 50 amp circuit. which isn't a big, alternating current, which isn't a big deal. That, most panels and new construction are gonna have extra to meet that, but this just says, you need those dedicated circuits to be available for the 5% or 2% of the parking. So really, we thought it was a good thing, because we just wanted people to be ready. If the need's there, they'd be much, I think, thankful if they want to put some in. They just, run the wires through the conduit. We're not saying install any electrical. It's just basically conduit. They're going to excavate the parking area anyway to put the parking down. So we didn't think it was any really heavy lifting on the development part, unlike putting in a charger, like actually putting in a charger that may or may not get used. So they didn't want chargers, showing up that aren't being utilized. So we felt this was a good middle ground to get it ready and go from there. So I just provided you this tonight. I wasn't looking for really much discussion this evening, but the Renee Allen, the chair of the Energy Committee, is willing to come before the board on March 24th and present on have some words in support from the Energy Committee. And without objection, I would go ahead and just schedule a public hearing for that date, so you can have the public hearing, and then if you wanted to act, you can act. If you want to table, you can table, So I just thought I'd give you it tonight, and without objection, I'll schedule a public hearing for March 24th.
So this does not apply to individual homes?
No. No, if someone comes in for a 12-lot subdivision, single-family homes, where's the conduit? They'll put it in the garage. They'll deal with it themselves. Yeah. And they usually come with a level 1 if you buy one. They come with a level 1 charger that you can plug into any 120 outlet. So no, this only applies to site plans.
So we assume the apartment or condo has a meter already. I'm going to just tie into that, maybe the meter that's running the outside lights. You said conduit, but you didn't say conduit to where?
Conduit to the panel.
Okay, so we assume that there is a panel.
Well, there has to be a panel. We're saying there needs to be, well, there's obviously a panel if there's electricity. There needs to be space in the panel to accommodate the number of spaces that's required. This is going to be on new construction, really.
Right, yeah.
Or significant redevelopment, because otherwise they're not going to trigger site plan review.
Yeah.
I mean, if a restaurant moves out and another restaurant moves in,
and do we,
it doesn't trigger this.
Multifamily residential, 5% of the total number of new parking spaces. So we're gonna eat into the extra parking spaces that we never have enough of to begin with.
No, all you're doing.
I'm saying, but if they come in, someone comes in, they're gonna build 10 units, and they provide 3 guest parking spots. That's where the charge is gonna go, and those spots will go away.
They wouldn't go away.
Well, they wouldn't go away, but they're gonna be used by the cars that might normally be in the garage part of the day.
I don't know.
You're charging them there?
You're charging them there. I always complain about we don't have enough parking spaces, and not everywhere, but I mean, a lot of the smaller multifamily units don't have enough parking to begin with. So if there's 4, 5, 6 guest spots, we may be tying up 2 or 3 of those with charging stations. And you're not gonna let the guests park there because they're not charging the car. It might be one of the residents who normally has his car in the garage, it's out there for an hour and back in.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be.
It would probably only be one spot anyway. With the
Well, it'll be one spot now. It's gonna grow. I mean, something to
It's
think
not like
about.
a handicap spot that you can't park there if you don't have the tag.
Right.
People can still park there.
Well, no,
If you're
but-
not charging your car, that's
So you're
fine.
gonna park there and I wanna charge my car and
Well,
someone's
then
in the
you
spot,
gotta,
then why have
that's
the
like a
spot?
management issue then. You
It
gotta
is,
talk to
and
your
it
neighbor
won't-
and say,
and it
hey, can I use the
And it
charger?
won't get managed
Well,
without an
if you are a resident and you actually have a vehicle that you need to charge, it's really just prepping the site to accommodate you, isn't it? If you needed it and you had a garage, then shouldn't it be in the garage?
Well, if
At your spot?
you could do that, but they're not all the same,
No,
that
they're
would be
not.
nice.
They're
I
not.
mean, that's something we have to think about. I mean, this is
Yeah.
early on. I'm just saying, these are
Planning
things
wise.
that.
But that's
you're not gonna
probably
just-
something we would do on a site plan review, Joe.
Exactly.
So this
That's
is just
why-
setting up
but that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because the
Can we
decision may
go
be
that
that
far with it? if it's too restrictive here.
Decision may be to put one in each garage,
Well, yeah.
and that's more than really what's needed here.
That option's available for an extra $2,000 when you buy the place from the builder.
Right. Right.
You want, it can be added later, you figure it out.
Yeah.
But if we, there are some places there is no indoor parking, right? So we're gonna have,
Well, if you're talking about
Money.
anything of significance, probably who's paying for the power to charge that vehicle
Well, right.
is gonna have to be metered properly.
well, you have a coin
It's not just gonna
operated
be
or?
on the street and John Gruder can drive in and
Sneak in.
grab some electricity.
Sneak in.
So I think it's gonna be more drilling down to the details. The question to me is it, like you said, John, is this too onerous on someone doing a project? I don't, at first blush, think it is, but probably having the presentation would be educational.
Yeah, I don't think it need be that onerous, but we need to address it. Someone
Yeah.
needs to address it. It's here.
Right.
It's gonna be more of it.
Yep.
And I just don't want to sacrifice a regular guest spot, So developer can say, well, I can't get the 6 because you require me to put 3 charging stations, so I can only get 3 spaces for extras, and that messes up everything.
And who maintains them?
Well, then the association's got the problem of the owner of the apartment
But
building.
we have to start to think about that also.
Yeah, well, they do.
Yeah.
Well, the intent of these regulations is, this isn't gonna take away from parking spaces. These are counted as a parking space.
I don't think you can count it, though.
Well, as presented, we're counting. So, I mean,
Well, I think you can count it. I think Jen brings it
And
up
it's-
perfectly. It's
yeah.
not like a handicap spot that says
No,
unless
it-
you're charging a vehicle, you can't use this.
I would say that's what it has to be.
Really?
Yeah, because if someone's parked there, for 8 hours a day or 12 hours, what's the point of putting a charger in?
So that's like a handicap space, you can't park there
Yeah, I don't think so.
unless you have an electric vehicle.
Well,
Maybe you can park overnight or something, but you can't park there between the hours of 8
It
AM and
probably
8 PM.
depends on if it gets used, right?
Yeah.
If there's no one in the property that has an electric vehicle.
Yeah, exactly, or if they put.
well, then it's not gonna be there because we're not requiring them to put in a charger.
No, the conduit will be there.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
just like,
conduit.
it's just, we've seen a couple of places, multifamilies already add them after the fact and excavate,
Right.
like Chestnut Hill, those apartments. They had a few people that had electric vehicle, we can't rent here, or we can't charge here, and then he ended up putting a couple in and excavating. So it's only gonna be used if someone that lives there, the need is there.
Right, and they,
Runs the wire through the conduit.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm sure they'll
Leaving it
split
there.
I'm sure even if they're just one, they're gonna split the lot. So it's basically 2 spaces you could use, either one.
Yeah.
right.
See what I'm saying? That's
Right.
probably the best is, when you put conduit, even if you only put one, you're gonna split it right between it. You're not gonna put it right in the center.
Right.
So it can actually go to 2,
Yeah.
and you have flexibility of where you
Put a
park.
junction box in.
Yeah. But anyway, it'll be good discussion on
Okay,
When is
March
that?
24th.
Yeah.
March 24th.
March you said 24?
Not February.
March 24th.
Okay,
Well, there is a February 24th.
yes, there is. It comes before March
There's a March
24th.
24th. There's a February 24th.
There's a meeting,
Everyone has a
the
24th.
planning board meeting on February 24th, and this is not gonna be on it. So I don't wanna hear about it.
There you go.
All right.
You better not bring it up. Anything else, Dave?
No soup for you.
No?
No, and
Okay.
I haven't checked with Bob. I don't believe there is anything, so I'll be in touch
Okay,
for the 24th.
What's going on?
this one is tough on planning board meetings.
Yeah,
Is there an agenda on the 24th?
yeah, nothing.
Not that I'm aware of.
Don't count your chickens yet.
Scaring them out there. Scaring everybody away.
Well, there's a couple of projects that will be coming. They're going through the HDC and
You put me the copy.
They're
so
the tough ones to deal with, so they get all their other
The
stuff.
hopper
there's a
does have
couple of
something in
projects
it.
headed your way, but they just haven't headed there yet.
How about a motion to adjourn?
Before that, Mr. Chair,
Okay,
can
thank
I say something?
Excuse me?
Can I congratulate Gwen English on being one of the 2 people that
Yes,
our town report is dedicated to this year? It was announced at our deliberative session on Saturday.
A what?
Yay.
Congratulations.
It was a huge honor to dedicate it to you. We were
Yeah.
so
I wasn't there.
So yay, Gwen. And then if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's our chair's birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday, Mr. Chair.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
That's it.
Your president
I'll be
is
quiet
looking to
now.
adjourn?
Oh, thank you.
Anything
That was
else?
The
wonderful.
motion to adjourn.
Anything else from the social committee? Got a motion to adjourn.
I'm the social secretary.
All in favor?
Who's in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
We're gonna be-
For your dedicated support.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.